What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Clash of Cosmos, episode 35. I'm Dylan, alongside Mila, Mr. NGF Andrew, and Darius, who is currently a blank screen. We are C.O.C Network. We are Clash of Cosmos, and today we are joined by a very, very special guest, Mr. Favian Renkel. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me on. I've been seeing you guys do crazy things over on TikTok, so I was like, I need to be on them. You know, I've never seen them before, but I see you guys all over social media now, and I was like, I can't believe a podcast went under my view. You know, so I definitely wanted to say what's up. You know, it looks like it's episode 35.
It is episode 35. Yes,
you guys are putting in the work.
Still
you know, that's what's up.
You are like the last or one of the last episodes before season 2. So we're still brand new to the MLS game and getting involved in this sphere. We recruited Andrew. That's kind of how this whole thing started on TikTok, which is funny. He was our first ever guest and he just never left. So now Mr. NGF Andrew is a permanent resident on the pod. We'll get into a bunch of stuff today. It's a jam-packed episode. We'll talk about your current journey that you're on, this MLS podcasting tour. We'll talk about some other stuff there. We'll talk about the Galaxy just lightly, just because you've been on so many Galaxy podcasts and we spew a bunch of Galaxy nodcast like stuff all the time. So we won't bore you and make you repeat stuff that you've probably been saying for the last few days. But I do want to get your insight on the rest of the league as a whole. There's been so much news that's dropped, and we do a little thing called our COC Roadtrip. And this road trip, we're going to jump along your podcasting tour and kind of travel the continental US, and we'll go over a bunch of breaking news there.
No, it sounds like a plan. It sounds like fun. I love it.
It's going to be great. Let's kick on into it. All right. As it is my duty, I do this after the intro every time. I'm going to plug the show. We have 217 subscribers as of today. So please like, comment, share, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. But because you are the special guest, I want you to talk about this podcast tour that you're on. Talk about everything that's related to it, how it relates to your current job and what you're doing here. And we'll get into the episode starting with that.
Thanks guys for having me on. It's a pleasure to be on. I'm doing this like podcast tour, and to be honest, I'm a huge MLS podcast fan. So this is kind of, you know, full circle for me, because I started on an MLS podcast about the San Jose Earthquakes called Tectonic Takes, and it was kind of like Andrew, to be honest. I heard my buddy Ivan, you know, ranting about the Earthquakes by himself, and I was his first guest, and I was like, hey, let me just be your co-host, you know? So Andrew's story is a lot like mine, to be honest. And now, kind of coming from the podcasting world, I know podcasts are always better with collaborations. And I feel like, what's a better way to hype up the new MLS season, probably the biggest MLS season to date, right before the World Cup, with, you know, a podcast tour. And I was writing down how many podcasts there are in MLS, and the list is literally over 200, which is insane, either past or present. And I was like, let me just put out a Batman signal and see who answers the call, right? And I've gotten a whole bunch of podcasts back. I think I'm over 30 podcasts scheduled.
Wow,
it's kind of wild. Who would have thought you could talk that much MLS, you know? I've done this, if I'm not mistaken, this is my 9th podcast, and we've done 4 in a day, and then 4 in a day is the most I've done. But, you know, it's a lot of fun. I get to meet a lot of people. I get to kind of rekindle with a lot of people, you know, because I know a lot of you guys online, but I don't, you know, really have time to talk too much face to face, and this is a perfect opportunity. So, yeah, and we're kind of labeling it the Kickbase podcast tour, because I'm working with Kickbase now. We're gonna have an announcement this next week. So if you're a soccer fan in the US, you can definitely look forward to what we have brewing here, because it's gonna be big. It's gonna be a little bit monumental. So I'm pretty shocked myself, but also excited to kind of tell you guys what we have brewing pretty soon. But yeah, man, I'm excited to be here. I'm ready to talk MLS, and I'm excited for the season to come.
Heck yeah. Well, let's talk MLS because we are a Galaxy podcast. And like I said, I don't want to bore you with your 50th repeat of the same questions and all that stuff. So, with your media experience, I kind of want to dive into that. The media perception of the Galaxy last season, we don't know that because we lived the hell day in, day out. But from your perspective and what you heard from whether that be the insights that you have in the league, what was the perception on the Galaxy post winning a championship into maybe the worst run that they could have possibly gone on?
Yeah, look, the word around the media world was this Galaxy team may be the most unluckiest team ever in MLS. I mean, not only do you lose the heartbeat of your team and Ricky Puig for the whole season, you have one of the worst starts ever possible. And it wasn't like this team was that bad. It was more or less they were getting super unlucky and not being able to finish off games. And once the morale is completely down, and once you know that it's going to be very unlikely to kind of make it into the playoffs, of course. I mean, of course the team's not going to do well, right? I mean, imagine going into your job knowing that every single day is not going to affect the outcome of what job you're going to have at the end of the season. It's going to be tough on any human being. So I think a lot of us in the media world kind of chop it up as, okay, that was crazy. And that's an outlier. I don't expect Will Kuntz and the LA Galaxy to kind of stay down there. I expect um, everything to kind of look up this year until that was the news that we got about a month ago. And it's so unfortunate because he's one of my favorite players. He's my son's favorite, or one of his favorites. And the league is better with Ricky. And it's so unfortunate to see one of the superstars in the league kind of go down with that same ACL tear. But I think Will Kuntz has put this team in a better position than last year. They've gotten some more GAM. I remember last year they had a hard time even finding a little bit of GAM here and there. So literally, this team looks a lot better than it did last year. It actually has center back depth, something that a lot of MLS teams can't or don't say they have, or can't say they have, excuse me, which that makes the Galaxy a part of like maybe 5 clubs in this league that can line up to 4 center backs solidly. And the Galaxy also have a 5th that's not too bad either, if it's Garces or Yoshida. So, no, I honestly think like this team is going to do well. Now, the ceiling is obviously a lot less without one of the best players in the league. I mean, let's talk about if Miami lost Messi, right? Their ceiling would, of course, go down. Yeah. Right? So, no, 100%. I think this team is going to be better than last year. I think the word around the league was this is very unlucky of any team to go through what the Galaxy went through. I mean, not only did the Galaxy have to, get rid of a lot of their players due to their bonuses for the MLS Cup win, they lost their best player, and that is not good or easy for any team. And Vancouver's going to go through the same thing. They had to get rid of some guys because of the bonuses that the MLS Cup made them hit. So it becomes what the Galaxy went through becomes a blueprint of how bad your season can go. And I think no team is going to go that bad. Even the Galaxy.
Yeah, the floor seemed to find its way to get lower and lower as the weeks went on. We talked about that lowering of the floor. Dari, Andrew, and Mila, either of you guys can chime in here. We last week talked about how the Galaxy sucked, but nobody left. At least none of the guys that we didn't expect to leave. Like we knew that Fagundes was at the end of his contract. We knew that Zonka was going to be parted ways with, but guys that stick out to me were Ramirez or Aude or Sanabria, like somebody who's on a contract that might be worth getting off of. None of those guys have left. And now the only rumor that we've gotten in the last few days is that one of our 3 DPs might be on the way out. So let's transition the conversation to Joseph Paintsel and his potential leaving to Turkey. Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, let me jump in on this actually, if you don't mind. Sorry, guys.
Do you have something breaking here?
No, not breaking, but not from me at least. But Tom Bogert did post on the main post saying that none of this was true. So he kind of cleared the waters at least a little bit for that, and he cleared the waters for Galaxy fans, at least, with
A little bit.
not thinking that Paintsville is going to be leaving.
So even if we are going to say that that's not going to happen, I seriously doubt that him or Peck at some point during the season will have those transfer rumors kick back up, whether that's now or at the junction where the World Cup happens right
Yeah,
afterwards.
exactly.
I mean, Joseph Paintsville will probably be back in the rumors if he has a good tournament with Ghana. Or is it Ghana?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I definitely could see that happening over a Peck getting that move post World Cup, just because Paintsville is involved in the international team. So if anyone's going to have those rumors around this time, I think it's going to be Paintsville, and we're just going to hear more and more of it, even if it's not true. There's just going to be chatter about Joseph Paintsville.
I think it could be true, or at least an offer that would make the Galaxy think about it would be an offer that's closer to 20 million. I think a lot of times after a World Cup, there's definitely a premium price. Yesterday's price was yesterday's price. And I think if Paintsville goes to the World Cup, maybe he scores against England, if I'm not mistaken, or one of those bigger teams, his price skyrockets. And I think if the Galaxy are going to give him up, I think they know that. I think you're going to have to pay that World Cup price today. And that's around 18 to 20 million.
So do you expect the Galaxy to make any moves this year where that will be the case? Like a big name, either one of their U22 spots or a DP, because they sucked last year. You don't have Ricky this year. Do you expect them to have to make moves at some point? Like, is that down the pipeline in Galaxy land?
Yeah, look, I don't think they have to make moves to the Galaxy. They're going to have superstars wanting to play for them no matter what. They built that pedigree, and they also live in one of the best cities in the world, in Los Angeles. So I think you're always going to get guys like, for example, look at Marco Royce. That came out of nowhere. And all of a sudden, Charlotte's like, yeah, well, we got your discovery rights, buddy. And he's like, crazy if you think I'm going to play in Charlotte, right? So you're going to get other guys that's going to happen with, So maybe there's no rumors now, possibly one in Casemiro. But I don't think there's anything just yet. And then I think after the World Cup, you're going to get guys that want to stay after the World Cup. They're going to see the facilities. They're going to see how every single team in MLS has their training facilities, how they have a passionate fan base, how it's completely different than what the world thinks of the United States when it comes to soccer. And I think all the teams know that, all these MLS clubs know that, because at the end of the day, this is a showcase for that. There's going to be so many players from the World Cup, actually the most that there's ever been. And MLS clubs are going to be like showcases, inviting players in, checking out their facilities, giving them tours, just so that they can plant the seed and say, hey, guys, this is top shelf now. I mean, the quality isn't there yet, but with your help, we can definitely do this. And that's the same thing that happened in the 94 World Cup when MLS made the league. They brought in a whole bunch of stars like Valderrama, I think Tad Ramos, for example, Lalas eventually, a lot of USA guys to kind of bring this league to be born, right? So, no, I think this is going to be the same deal. You're going to get guys like Griezmann that want to stay. You're going to get guys that weren't even linked to possibly coming here before, and they're going to be like, you know what? There's fans here. You know what? I can live a peaceful life here. I can live out of the eye for some, like Timo Werner in San Jose. I can live a normal life for my family, and the soccer quality is just as good. And you're going to see guys like Rodrigo de Paul's kind of pedigree where, he's a little younger, but he still came here.
Yeah. It's a big year for the U.S. Soccer Federation and everyone involved, because the big names that can come, if you've already got Messi, you've already got Son, Marco Royce, Muller is playing in Vancouver. You just said it. Timo Werner is playing in San Jose.
Yeah.
There's stars coming to play in the smaller markets, and we'll get into one of the bigger stars that at least is going to be here for a couple months, a little later in the episode. But I would say
this about the Galaxy. I could see in the future for the LA Galaxy a U.S. men's national team player that's pretty prominent coming to play for the Galaxy. And you can make your rumors up whoever you want, but I could see that in the near future after this World Cup for sure.
I already know who you're talking about, because I already said that they should sign him before they signed Klaus, and they didn't sign him. So I already know who it is. If anyone wants to figure out who that is, they can find it on our social medias. I posted it everywhere.
Yeah. Viewers of the show know.
The viewers of the show know. I have one guy in mind. He's never healthy, but he's in mind. Mila, you talked about the pressure that is on this team because I think Mila said it from episode, I don't know, it could have been episode 7 through 15, roughly, roughly, which was like the Galaxy sucked. And part of that goes on the coach. And instead of Greg Vanney getting sacked, he got an extension, which is only MLS things. I don't think there's any other league in the world that could happen, but we've been super positive, right, Mila? And so where are you at with this Greg Vanney and Will Kuntz? And is the pressure cooker still on for you, regardless of all the stuff that's happened this offseason?
I think the pressure cooker should still be on for me and any guy. But at the end of the day, like, we don't have control over who sits. And if the players like him, I know you and I talked about this on the Designated Player podcast, but if the players like him and back him unconditionally, then what more? And the pressure is on the players, I think, more so than even fans. Because if they're going to extend him, they clearly believe in him. So what last year was to me was that the players step up enough. And obviously, like we talked about, we've had our setbacks. We had roster building issues, but they never gave up on the coach, or else he wouldn't be there. So to me, it's the pressure's on the players. But if he doesn't get results, then that's when we have to question why there was.
That's fair. That's probably how I'm looking at the situation. It's weird because I was in Mila's camp. I was like, why haven't we sacked the manager that can't get us a win in the first 17? But someone, Andrew, down in the corner there, has been pretty consistent on what's your motto for the Galaxy? Is it 7 and 27? What was it?
20, or 7 and 27, I think. Yep.
7 and 27. So for you, is the pressure on Will Kuntz more than it is on Greg Vanney for you, Andrew? I'm curious.
Yeah, to be known is to be loved, and I'm feeling very known right now. You took that right out of the top of my head. That's basically the Galaxy's MO, and I feel like being inside that press conference, speaking with Vanney, getting to ask him these questions about what the standards are, how you make this team try to improve last year. I think there's just been so many signs. Seeing the renewal, I think, is obviously the clearest thing. But the Galaxy's MO has been trust the process, that they trust their man. He obviously won them a title in 24 when everything was right. And I think the front office is just really conscious of just everything around them. Like Favi mentioned, the rest of the league was very aware of how unlucky, I think it's just a great word to put it, but just how there was other stuff besides the players, besides the roster, besides the managers that went wrong last season. And if other front offices understood that, I'm more than certain than the Galaxy did. So I think they've even mentioned it, I believe, in preseason conferences, this off window. But the pressure is outside, but in the office, they're rock solid. I think they know what they're doing. They've never really wavered. And we've seen that in the transfer market as well. Like Dylan mentioned, that we're a pretty consistent and really similar team. We've built rather than reset, rather than be forced to lose pieces. We've kept players that we could have let go of. And I think there's the renewal. There's just these major indications that the Galaxy trusts the plan that they have with Ravi Ramaneni. And I feel him, I'm going to sing his praises every chance I get. The new director of qualitative analysis, we got him from Seattle Sounders. He's really this is his first proper full year, first transfer window with some experience, with his hands fully on the team. And the signings he's made, he's made a grand slam, just home run after home run after home run. We've talked in depth about the numbers of all these guys, of Jakob Glesnes, Justin Hack, and how they suit the Galaxy's profiles. The front office is showing that they deserve a little bit of faith, I think, a little bit of confidence. And now we have what a lot of people, I think, are starting to call a competitive team, a team that should be setting their eyes at least on the playoffs. I think, like Mila mentioned, exactly, it's on the players. The team trusts Vanney. I don't think there's really too much pressure on him. The team trusts Will Kuntz. The team trusts Ramanemi. They trust Favian Renkel. They trust everybody involved. So, again, the pressure is outside, not necessarily inside. It's on the pitch. So, and when it comes to Vanny's situation, I'm not expecting anything major in that department. But in terms of players coming in, I think we have a lots of reasons to be excited.
Agreed. Dari, we've waited 20 minutes because I think your points are the most valid, and I think that they mean more to me than anybody else here.
Okay.
So I want to know, in terms of the pressure, I know that the internal noise, like Andrew was just saying, is probably not as loud as we're making it seem on the outside, but is it that loud for you right now?
Yeah, I would say honestly, to kind of break away from what everyone else is saying, I'd say the pressure has turned up a little bit especially after the horrors of last season. I feel like if stuff doesn't start going right quick, then it's gonna turn up really fast. I think right now the general feeling is pretty low temperature, but I think if there's no win in the first one or two games, it could get really. He could be on the hot seat, and it's interesting to see how quick stuff changes. I feel like it's a very fast changing league in terms of fan opinion. Galaxy fans, especially, to be honest, can tend to be a little bit fickle and unforgiving with results. So we'll see. I mean, I personally think that we're going to have a good start, so I don't really think it's going to be too much of an issue. But it's definitely at risk of becoming a bit dangerous.
Yeah.
Just to piggyback a little bit on what Dari's saying, the first couple of games are, massively important, with them being the very first one being CCC. We saw that the competition started today. The season officially kicked off with other teams, but the Galaxy are going to be facing that pretty soon, immediately, and the pressure there, it's immediately on. It's international competition. You have to advance. The expectation on the Galaxy is they will advance, but you lose a home game, you have a sleepy performance, you're down 2 goals, to try to overturn that. You just don't want to be on the back foot immediately. That's not the sign for 2026. That's not what at least we expect. It's not what we want as fans. But I think the expectation just in general is for the Galaxy to perform, and they have to do it from the jump. So we've seen them play pretty well in these preseason games, all W's basically across, lots of goals. I think Dylan mentioned in the chat, maybe Mila, 7 goals for the Galaxy. So they're looking okay, but we got to see how it is, in real time, and the pressure right away is on. Just,
Definitely. And I'm about to head out, but I think that head off. The pressure is mainly on these first. Like, we started last season so bad, and we just never stopped the rot until 17, 18 games of the season. At that point, it's too late. But Vanny, in his interview with Kobe Jones, talked about how we didn't really have a preseason, just because we went all the way and guys got right back into it, took time off during the off season rather than like casually just like turning it down a notch. They look ready to go. They look fit and taking the preseason serious. So I think, like Andrew and Dari were saying, if we win those first couple games or just have good performances, that will stack, and the momentum will just carry on throughout the season.
Yeah, I agree.
You know who looks fit? Mila. He's about to win a trophy right now.
Yeah,
right?
Yes, he is about to go hit those rondos to warm up and then go win a trophy. Thank you, Mila. We couldn't hear that, but enjoy. Nope. Go win a trophy. We'll talk to you later. Alrighty, Mila decided that he wanted to fuck everything up and just start recording another episode, just because he wanted to be special, and he is, and hopefully he's bringing back a trophy. But Favian, your thoughts on this being a pressure cooker season for the Galaxy?
Yeah, look, welcome to episode 36. No, but as all you guys are saying, the pressure may be on if it goes south, but I'm actually going to kind of switch this a little bit. I think the pressure is going to actually not be on Greg Vanny, but instead Will Kuntz. I think if this starts to go south pretty fast, I think you can look directly at Will Kuntz and say, hey, well, you brought in Klaus, hey, you brought in Jakob Glesnes, you brought in Justin Hack, I think because they have the faith in Greg Vanny. I mean, look at Greg Vanny, what he did with this squad last year. He still made the CONCACAF Champions Cup qualification. So if anybody's on the hot seat, I think it's going to be Will Kuntz. But I don't think so. I think they're going to be fine. But if it was going to be anybody, to me, I think it's Will Kuntz.
Yeah, I'm a doomer, so I had to bring up the idea of this being a pressure cooker season because bad teams don't go through blips as often as the LA Galaxy have. And we've gone to the highest of highs, right? But we've also been at the lowest of lows too many times throughout Greg Vanney's tenure for me. And whether that was because he was getting players from Klein or he had the Ricky injury, I just don't know if good teams have that much lull in their performances week over week. And for me, Greg Vanney has to work with the parts that are given to him. And that's just a byproduct of this league. Like, you're given a very confined roster and there's super strict rules. And so there are always going to be issues like that year over year. This season's a great example. You lose Ricky just before we're about to get into it. And so then Will's got to go make business with 4 or 5 weeks left in a window that's already super difficult to do deals in.
Yeah.
And they had the idea that Ricky was going to be here day one. So regardless, I think for me, I push back on Will being here because he's still new to me. And I know that Greg has been here and I just haven't seen consistency year over year. And I think the best teams in the league have consistency year over year, whether that's LAFC, now that's Miami. Seattle's a great example of year over year consistent success. Those are the teams for me that I think the Galaxy need to be putting themselves in the conversation with. Because was there any reason the Galaxy shouldn't have been in the Club World Cup? No, they're like a top 3 team in terms of market. They really shouldn't, right?
I mean, Infantino also said the Supporter Shield winner is the most important winner of MLS, you know?
Yeah, that's a good point. We did get a little gypped, but that's something that I think the Galaxy need to get back to. It's just been my thought for a little bit now is consistency over high points and low points, because there's too much of that with this team in LA, where especially if LAFC consistently are good year over year, fan base will start to switch to the team that is good year over year and not the team that has the fluctuation. At least that's my perspective on it. I don't know if that's right or wrong. I have no numbers to back.
Let me say this too, and I think a lot of times people in the LA Galaxy will forget you guys are the LA team who won the latest MLS Cup. Don't forget that.
That is true. I just have so much PTSD and scarring from last season that I don't know if I'm officially going to get over that until I see us start winning games. And there's just this like angst and nervousness. Me and Dari are also United fans, so it's just like salt in the wounds every other week. Now that I'm seeing United win, I know what that feels like again. And so I'm starting to become a happier human being, but I need the Galaxy to kind of take that and ascend to a different level. But
Let me tell you this. The San Jose Earthquake fans would throw away 10 years of bad football for one more MLS Cup. So
that is true.
It could be worse.
It could be worse. You know what? I think it's a good time to go to San Jose. So I'm going to take us on a little road trip here, our COC road trip, and then we'll get into San Jose. Yeah, that's never getting old. Ever. I'm going to say that every time because I just love that intro. It makes me think that I'm going through Cars Land at Disneyland. It's the best. But you are a SJ native, right? You guys play next to an airport. We're on a road trip. You're on a podcasting tour. We might as well make San Jose the first stop. So I don't know where you want to start with this. I think you've talked about Timo in the past, so we can maybe wait. And you want to talk about just the craziness that has gone on in San Jose this summer with all their DPs leaving and then getting a star?
Yeah, honestly, it's kind of weird because I didn't expect it at all, right? I mean, Bruce brought Chicho Arango in, and then the next season he said addition by subtraction. You know, like this is a roller coaster ride happening up north in the Bay Area, and it's just weird, man. The whole story about them forgetting to re-sign Espinoza, which is something that I'm always kind of like, you know, is this the true story? You know, like, is this really what happened? Or is it an easy way to get rid of a club legend and give him an opportunity to really try to win an MLS Cup, right? Bruce was never really fond of Christian Espinoza, and it was evident in all of his pressers when he was able to talk about him. He wasn't too crazy about him and maybe didn't give him the credit he deserves. But nevertheless, he's out of San Jose. And then we were in a spot where we thought we would have Chicho Arango as the face of the franchise. And then all of a sudden, we have Timo Werner, the biggest signing ever for the Earthquakes besides George Best in 1974. And man, Quakes fans have been waiting for this day, waiting for the rest of MLS to get good so that they can sign a European star. And I think it's poetic in a way where he's looking for another opportunity, and I think San Jose can give that to him. But I don't know. Do you guys think Bruce is a little past it from what he's been able to kind of do last season, and then this season really not having any transfers in?
That's a good question, Dari. I mean, you and me have been probably and Andrew too. We all saw Bruce through the best of his years, right? And then he had that World Cup stint. And then he went to New England, and it wasn't really working out. And then there
Still
was
won a Supporter Shield, right?
And he still won a Supporter Shield through all the mess. And then with SJ, they've been just an awful defense with this was some good offense, but now you've lost all that offense. Sorry, I'll let you kind of talk on what you think Bruce has got left in the tank there.
I mean, it's kind of interesting because Bruce is one of those managers that always has a big Rolodex of players that he'll go to. But in recent years, I feel like he's kind of been straying away from that strategy. Obviously, here and there, he kind of just takes some guys with him wherever he goes. But it's going to be interesting to see what he does with this fresh squad. And I feel like he hasn't really had a star like this. Correct me if I'm wrong, to deal with in a while. So
yeah,
interesting. I feel like Timo is a good, hardworking personality. So I feel like he won't be too difficult to work with. But
yeah,
interesting to see.
Agreed. Andrew, do you have any thoughts on Bruce Arena and this SJ squad?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like watching you sold your family car to your neighbor, and he had it for a while, and then you saw it, like it went to the shop and it was out of action for a while. You just didn't see it, and all of a sudden the family car is back, and you take it for a spin, and it's just not the same as it used to be. You know, but you're thinking of all the great memories you used to have, but the steering wheel just isn't the same. The gears don't shift the same way. Something's different. And I think that may be something Bruce Arena is feeling. Just the conditions, the players, the attitudes, the staff, everything is just maybe a little bit different than when he was, really in his heyday, kind of running the show at even at times at a global stage, like you guys mentioned. So it's just, past it is kind of, it feels like a harsh way to put it, but it feels apt at the same time in some ways. And whether it's because of the squad or the administration, there's obviously, again, like with not getting the paperwork through in time, that shows like it's a little crack that kind of indicates maybe there's something bigger going on behind the scenes that we just don't know about that may be limiting the potential of the squad. So it feels like there's just a lot of things that aren't necessarily working the way they are. And it feels like, maybe the Galaxy a couple of years ago, where they had, let's say even at the beginning of Greg Vanney's, someone with like this history who's been successful in the past, but for some reason, whether it be administration, transfer bans, not having the right players, matching the play style, whatever it is, injuries, there's just these other things. And that feels like the situation in San Jose, but they haven't had their Will Kuntz come in and save the day yet, essentially. They haven't really started truly that process. Again, everything feels like it's about 70% in a way, and we're kind of seeing 70% of a really good playoff team. It feels like it's one step too far in some situations, but it I don't know. It's interesting again, everything now with the whole conference. Though, they have big teams to deal up there with Portland, Seattle. That'll be interesting, the competition. And when you think of San Jose in that ranking, it becomes a little bit, how far do they go in these playoff races? How much do they need to improve to keep up with that standard? And there's just a lot of questions. I think the questions will continue. The only thing that's really going to answer them is watching. Maybe we're all surprised, and Timo Werner scores 20 before the World Cup, or and just something incredible, and it's fantastic. But it's going to be, I feel like, a surprise to more people if something like that happens. than a team that we see kind of maybe struggling for consistent form.
And with the new divisions, like there's a way to make the Earthquakes really get hate from the Galaxy, even though they're not going to be in the same division. And that's by hiring Chris Klein. I think if you bring in Chris Klein, you renew your rivalry with the Galaxy, even though you only play once a year. You know, that's going to be the all-time high for the Cali Classico.
Mm-hmm. There will definitely be a build up to that. And they always play, you know, it's honestly, it's become one of my bigger pet peeves that they play at Stanford Stadium still.
Wait, why?
I just don't love the way that it looks on TV. I never get to go. It's
such a fun event, man. It's so fun.
Is it okay in person? Let's talk about that. Are you upset that? I mean, that might take away from that if they don't want to have I guess they get the revenue from it regardless, so they might keep it there if they end up having it in SJ. But do you think that might go away with this new division?
I don't think so. I mean, we still play them once, or the Earthquakes are still going to play the Galaxy once, and maybe it's every other year, but I still think they're going to host that game at Stanford because it's kind of a tradition. And I'm not really from San Jose. I'm maybe from 30 minutes away from San Jose. I'm from a place called Redwood City, and Stanford is actually right next to there. Yep. And you get somewhat of a different fan base there. You know, not a lot of people are driving 30 minutes to go to San Jose, but when the Earthquakes play in, let's say, the heart of Silicon Valley, you get a whole bunch of new faces to expose to the team. And this is an argument for another day, but the Quakes 100% need to play in San Francisco as well, which they haven't done in a long time. So the Bay Area is very separated in terms of neighborhoods and things like that. So I think the Stanford game is a great way to still have that. And then also Levi's with LAFC for the Quakes is a good thing. And they need to add one more for a game in SF because Bay FC just, I think the women's team literally had like 44,000, if I'm not mistaken, at Oracle Park. And that's so impressive. And the Quakes, for some reason, never played at Oracle Park.
Yeah. Small world. My girlfriend's actually from Redwood City. So that hit exactly. Yeah. Really small world.
Your girlfriend.
I won't dox her, but we can talk about it afterwards when we're done. But yeah.
Wait, how old are you doing?
26.
Okay.
So you might know her family. There's a good chance you know her family. It's a very small world thing.
Yeah, there's only 2 high schools there.
Yeah, there really is only. Either you're either purple or another color.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah. This is a really weird small world moment. Huh?
I am purple. I'm purple.
You are purple. There's a jacket in there. I think it's a softball jacket that has the S on it. So
that is crazy. Yeah, I would have been a senior and she would have been a freshman if I'm not mistaken. So crazy world.
Dang, that is a crazy world. Wow. To think that this is what podcasting can get you, is this type of connection where you randomly have this awesome connection. That's amazing. That's amazing.
Dude, my heart just dropped until you said she was 26. I was like, I really hope not. You know?
Oh, awesome. All right. Well, I think that Bruce Arena is on the last leg here. If I was going to steer it back to San Jose, this is just the end of his career. He's like playing with the loaded gun. He's always been that way, where you're just like, this guy's a polarizing figure. He's going to fire off shots. Someone's going to get hit. And I don't know if there's a better place to do that than San Jose, because a lot of that stuff can kind of get swept under the rug pretty easily. But now you've got a star and Timo, and as much as I think the European portions of his game are scarring me because I think he's going to kick some balls straight into the airport, I think that he'll be a overwhelming success because his play style and his physical attributes, like his pace and his finishing, could be beneficial in this league. And I think that for him, someone who really wasn't playing for Leipzig, he might be able to get himself back on track here and get some positive momentum for himself.
Yeah, I think I kind of have him slated similar to Choupo-Moting with the Red Bulls. I think he didn't have a lackluster season, but he also didn't have the craziest season. So a little bit, I think we're looking at around 15 goals. I think that's a safe bet for him. Someone has to score on this team. And who better than Timo Werner, right?
Yeah, him and Preston Judd front two.
Yeah,
right. Exactly. That's what it's. I think that's what it's shaping up to be. They haven't done any other business. So.
Bruce said they're going to bring in another guy at least, and maybe so maybe that's a striker. But as of right now, it's Preston Judd.
Wow. That's a big leap. Not to say that he can't do it. I just don't know what his level of production is
Or
as a
Orange
starter.
County SC legend, right? If I'm not mistaken.
I believe so. Yeah. And then he played here. He played with the Galaxy for a bit, and then he bounced out. Yeah. All right. Well, there is another transfer that hit the market yesterday. You called it. Was it the craziest transfer
Yeah.
in history? And let's jump into that. Andrew's got Minnesota ties. Dari really likes James Rodriguez. I think that he's past it, and I'm not really sure what to make of this deal, but he's a mega superstar going to the ice tundra in Minnesota. Why is this the craziest transfer?
No, honestly, we were talking about my hometown in Redwood City, and my nickname around those parks is the James Rodriguez of Redwood City. So people
Yeah.
a lot like him. So that's why it's the craziest. No, but for real. I think it's the craziest transfer of all time in MLS, or one of them, because he's not going to Miami. He's not going to LA. He's not going to New York. He's literally going to Minnesota United, a world that's literally been flipped upside down the past couple of months. And the guy's just going there, and I'm hoping it's kumbaya for him. I'm hoping he's what Minnesota needs right now in all aspects of life. But no, this is 100% one of the craziest transfers, because this signals another era of MLS where no matter what type of star you are, you don't get to choose your team, big dog. It depends on the team that gets you, so maybe we're not going to see the Marco Royces being able to force their move. I mean, I bet you anything, James would love to play in Miami, but it just doesn't work that way. I bet you anything, he would love to play in Austin or even with the Galaxy. Shoot, you imagine you lose Ricky Pooch, and then all of a sudden you get James for 6 months, So this is a weird one. This is totally a weird one for me. All I know is you're going to see a ton of Colombians booking their trips to Minnesota once that's official. And you're going to see Minnesota being one of the hot spots for Colombians traveling before the World Cup to see James play.
Yeah. Dari, I think you may have said it, but I think that we were all a little disappointed the Galaxy didn't take a punt.
Yeah.
Because he's not a DP.
Yeah. I'm pretty shocked, and I can't believe they got him for that. I mean, it just makes no sense to me. It's a blockbuster signing. I think it's one of the biggest signings for sure in the history of the league, and I think it could shape up to probably be the biggest depending on how he plays. Yeah, it's huge. It's huge for the league, and hopefully he's still got it. I haven't really watched him play in a while, but I think he'll be serviceable at minimum.
But the thing is this something where it's like Minnesota had their discovery rights of James, and they said, let's just do it. Let's just
it has to be, I feel like.
No, we're not going to give.
I mean, we'll see, because they usually release who they had to pay for the discovery rights, and I haven't seen that anywhere.
Exactly. So this is going to be an interesting one, man. If this one really goes over the line, even he posted, "Here we go," and I was like,
yeah.
And he's like in a shirt on a private jet. I'm like, big dog, you know where you're going?
Yeah.
You're going to the Twin Cities, dog. You're not going to Miami. All right. Like, this is weird. This is weird all around. But hey, I'm for it. I'm for it. Like, now, not only do I have to circle when, LAFC is in town or Miami's in town or the Galaxy's in town, now I have to circle Minnesota, which I've never done in my life. Hey, let me give you guys a little tip right here. If you haven't booked your tickets to Coachella Valley Invitational, you should probably do that now. You might be able to get a VIP ticket for pretty cheap, and who knows, James and Son might just walk right by you.
Yeah, we are all going, I think. Dari's 50-50, but I think the plan is to be there on Sunday and to hopefully see those guys at least up close and personal just a little bit. The fact that James that's the only thing that confuses me. The only thing that I've understood from the reporting coming out of Mexico is that he wasn't invested. He wasn't really fully there, and that's why they didn't continue with his partnership there.
Well, Leon actually kind of got shafted because he really went for the Club World Cup, and then they got disqualified because them and Pachuca, have the same owner, if I'm not mistaken, and they kicked Club Leon. And that's kind of what the argument was. LAFC's was going to be in the Club World Cup because they lost to Club Leon in the CONCACAF Champions Cup back in 23, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then once they didn't qualify, he was kind of stuck.
Yeah, so so he just got stuck and played out the rest of his contract, and that was it?
Not really. I think they were terminated.
So they terminated it. So they didn't even have enough. Was it a money thing? Like the contracts just didn't line up?
Honestly, Mexico has had a lot of guys kind of terminate early. I mean, Maxine
He
just posted about
Yeah.
something at America, right? Aaron Ramsey kind of terminated. Honestly, I hate to say it, but Liga MX is kind of looking like the Saudi Arabia of the West. I mean, there's a whole bunch of superstars that are kind of pulling out of their deals before they finish them, and it's getting, it's starting to become a trend. So it's interesting, but I still think this James deal is huge. I mean, it's going to Minnesota, or who knows? What if it's like a last second ditch by some other team, and then they're just trying to get like $1 million or $2 million discovery right money? I don't know. I still don't believe it until he's in that kit, man.
Yeah,
It's crazy. He's going to be a loon. Andrew, you are the only person that's had that experience up there in Minnesota.
Right. I have some contacts. I'm gonna shoot a text and be like, bro, like, what's going on? Like, like, what is going on? Is this, like,
Bill, like, yeah. No, but it's an interesting situation. My take on it is, for me, James Rodriguez, his motivation is we've seen it kind of throughout his career, has been to save himself for Colombia, for these big tournaments. It's always been to keep himself in the best shape for these big tournaments, to make sure he's selected, make sure he's playing. I feel like with especially the Leon situation in the Club World Cup, he was really motivated to be at that Club World Cup. And I think for me, he wanted to show, it was his really one big chance to show European teams and show where he's at compared to the elite European level, and hopefully get himself some move at a European club to really get himself at a high level for the World Cup, I think was his ultimate goal. But with, again, like Favi mentioned, everything falling through there, he kind of figured, well, if I'm not making a step towards what my goal is, I'm out. I'll take the bag. I'll see you guys later. I'm going to go back to Colombia and just train on my own. And now it's kind of the situation where it works out for Minnesota, who were looking to add attacking pieces, especially, but they've made a lot of departures. It looks like they're stepping into their incoming era. And so it's kind of a marriage of convenience there for Minnesota, for James. And it's kind of a similar situation. He's trying to show that he's at a level, at least get himself fit, get himself sharp. He hasn't played since last December. He's trying to, again, just find himself in this place to be selected, to participate for Colombia. And it's a 6-month deal, maybe after the World Cup retire, or earn himself some other move to Europe, Saudi Arabia, whatever, just get a bag. And, he played his last World Cup. He's happy. He's going to get a check and retire. But he has an option now. It feels to me that's kind of where it's heading, just reading the history, kind of reading the tea leaves there. But it's James Rodriguez. He's going to give everything for Colombia, I think, this summer. I'm not sure how much he's actually going to play for Minnesota because of that. It reads to me almost like not quite like a Marco Roy situation, but he's going to be in rotation, used sparingly. Injury is always going to kind of follow him around. So I'm not sure how much he's actually going to play, especially on these long travel days, these long road trips. Now in the winter, it's 12 degrees in Minnesota. It wasn't too long ago where it was minus 20. That's live reporting from Minneapolis. Shout out Anna out there, my girlfriend. But it's going to be tough for him, and he might not always want to be there. It's not going to be easy for him to say yes and be available, especially when he's thinking World Cup, my ultimate career goal. So I feel like, again, it's a marriage of convenience. I'm not sure how much Minnesota is expecting to get out of him, or as a fan, I'm not sure how much I would expect to actually get to see of him, but a fun move nonetheless. Really interesting to talk about.
As a media member, this is gonna be so selfish of me, but I'm going to that press conference. I'm gonna be there, even if he doesn't step a foot on the field. Like that's a cool one, especially within MLS. Just for the pictures alone, I think that's gonna be a lot of fun.
It's fireworks. Is it the first ever prove it deal for a superstar? I can't think of a lot of 6-month rentals to start a season. And maybe this is just because the World Cup and it's a very special, unique thing. But if he's going to Minnesota, like, either he's trying to prove to other teams within the league that have more money in the summer, like, hey, I'm available, or he's trying to prove to somebody that he can still play. I don't think Colombia is not in a spot where, like, if he's not playing for the next 6 months, while that might not be the best for him personally, like, he'd still be on the plane. He'd still be there for them. So I just find this the whole thing is crazy. It's fascinating. And I honestly, for me, I think that he could be here for a long time if he wants to be. And that optionality after the World Cup is over for him to get a move to a bigger market when there are teams that will do some shuffling, that's where I see this sticking. And Hamas in the league is not bad business. That's good business. The more of the superstars that we have, especially international, the better the league's off and the more excited I get. So don't know.
This is one that I expected after the World Cup, but if we get him before, sure, that's perfect. Yeah. And then we could talk about Griezmann during the next window. You know, like this is the best thing possible for MLS fans. I mean, I think all of us were saying Wooden Spoon, Minnesota, right now, easy, done. You know, they lost everybody. They have all the gamma in the world. They are not using it, and now who knows?
Yeah, now they might be in a place where they have a superstar carrying for 6 months, and they're like, we just can't let you go, man. You're here for as long as you want to be. Here's that magical contract that'll end up being $2 million on our DP spot, but it's got a much larger number behind it.
I bet you anything MLS is already photoshopping pics, man. I would.
Oh my god!
Oh, yeah. Some intern is going crazy right now.
Every single thing I get.
Yeah, some intern is on Photoshop, just like literally losing his mind, sporadically trying to get the was it like the skyline that they've got on their kit? Yeah. Okay, Favian, we have picked out these teams. Those are the transfers that we've had. You get to cover the whole league, and we don't normally get to cover the whole league. And we try to do it like this, and it happens usually in the off season. So pick a team at random that you are very intrigued with this season, and we can talk about them.
Yeah, look, this is kind of a hard question for me because a lot of teams are pretty intriguing, but for me, I think not the team itself, but the kind of the attitude this team has, I'm so fascinated with. Truly, I've never seen an MLS team act this way, and that's going to be FC Cincinnati. Literally, they have 2 players on their roster that have been kind of touted in so many rumors for some crazy money, and they haven't even blinked. And that's Evander and Denke. These guys are Cincinnati superstars, and we don't care what number you throw at us, which is so weird to see an MLS team act like that, because usually any other team offers maybe $500,000 less than what they're worth. Oh yeah, we'll sell them to you, no problem. Yeah, okay, good. You know, that was the MLS of old. But now, bro, you could ask 40 million, 35 million for Kevin Denke. Yeah, we're not going to do it. That's so wild. You could probably get that money and get Darwin Nunez or half of that money, right? And you're going for a guy, Kevin Denke, who didn't win the Golden Boot, you know, wasn't that crazy good in this league, right? He was better than Latte Lath, but nothing of any sort of, you know, craziness. And then Evander, yes, we all know he's an MVP candidate, but to, you know, spend, I think it was 18, maybe 15 million on him, and then to have an offer for close to 25 and be like, we're good. That's super crazy to me. I think that this also marks another era of MLS where we're keeping our superstars. And at the end of the day, Americans love superstars. Americans love turning on the television and seeing Steph Curry shoot a 3, his trademark, you know, or LeBron James doing his trademarks. And Americans, the only way you're going to win them over is by having superstars and brand recognition and names, and also superstars that the league created, like Bouanga, superstars like Evander. And if these teams, LAFC included, I know you guys don't want to talk about it, but if they're going to keep their superstars, that marks a brand new era of MLS that I've never seen before.
Yeah, I think I kind of want to add something off that because I feel like it's a really ballsy move also by Cincinnati to do so, because I feel like player power in MLS is pretty strong. If at any point these players decide that they're no longer bought into the project, they can kind of twist the arm of the club to get them gone. So, I mean, and for less money than they would have gotten in the past, I think they could kind of do a lot to tank their value and get a move easier. So it's interesting to see. They must be very bought into the project, and they
Yeah.
must trust that in those players for them to turn away these high offers. So it's a good point.
All I know is if I'm a player that wants to start a family and I'm looking at Cincinnati, I'm like, well, shoot, they got some loyalty to their players. Like this is pretty cool to see, and I think that becomes a possible place for me all of a sudden.
Yeah, that's the craziest part of this whole equation is it's FC Cincinnati. We talked about Joseph Paintsel before, right? The Galaxy are in a power position where they don't need to make that move, right? It's not a necessity. For a team like Cincinnati, I think if you had the same conversation and just moved it to Minnesota, they would have sold their pieces, right? The fact that Cincinnati is sitting here and saying, we think we can win and we have the pieces to win now is super. One, it's a sign of intent to the entire fan base of like, we're bought into everything that we're doing right now. And we believe that everything that we've done since joining the league is getting better and better every year. We talked about the consistency with the Galaxy. This is a team that is consistently good year over year now. For them to basically be saying, we don't give a shit that Miami just signed half of the world and their brothers and sisters. We still think we can compete with that team. That's huge. That's a huge step for the league when you can say, this super team, we still think we can take them on. And that's really where I think FC Cincinnati is a awesome test case for where the league can go. Because if we have Evander sitting in Cincinnati, I'm tuning into a lot more games of FC Cincinnati.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Andrew, do you have anything on FC Cincinnati?
Nah, you guys said it all.
Okay. I'm good with that.
All I know is if I'm a Cincy fan, I'm gonna go buy an Evander jersey. Like that means a lot to me as a fan that we're keeping our stars.
Yeah. I mean, we literally saw, the fact that Portland moved off of him with the season that he had.
Yeah.
Well, so speaking of player power, he kind of forced that too.
Yeah, he did kind of force that. He was tired of Portland, but that's what I think that says all you need to say is he didn't want to be in Portland. He was okay with Cincy, and now he's willing to stay. Yeah. This guy can get whatever move to Brazil he wants right now. Is what it sounds like.
Yeah.
I think he's awesome. I think that he's one of those guys. It's funny. Portland brought in another guy that I kind of turn on my TV for which is DaCosta, but Evander's one of those guys I turn on my TV for because he's just electric. Every single game, he's like the James Harden of MLS for me, where the ball's just always at his feet. Like he's always cooking. You're like, regardless of if he's playing good or bad, the ball's going to him. So you're gonna get a show from your number 10.
No, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to save our predictions because I'm not going to get us clipped up just yet. I think we're going to do one more video where we get clipped up. But since you're here, we're going to clip you up. And we need to get your predictions for this season. We need to get an MVP, who you think is going to win the Supporter Shield. Let's do that instead. I'm going to switch it up to Supporter Shield. And then who wins the title?
This one's a little tough. MVP, I'm actually going to not say Messi. I think this year we're going to see a new face. And you guys might not like it, but I think Son Heung-min is going to be the MVP of this season. I think he's going to respect the MLS season no matter what and score as many goals as possible before the World Cup. Some reports are coming out that Messi might take this a little slower, maybe possibly get more recovery before the World Cup. So I think we see less games from Messi and less minutes. And I think Son will pass him due to that reason. And I think it's going to be a close race, but I think Son is going to beat him. Now, Supporter Shield, that one's tough. I picked Philadelphia Union to be like one of the worst teams last year, but that being said, I think this year is going to be very similar. I think it's going to go to a team that is not in the CONCACAF Champions Cup, or at least, they don't think they're going to go deep in it. I think it's a team that's going to not have too many World Cup players. I think it's a team that has killers or has, some crazy goal scorers. And my pick, they're in the CONCACAF Champions Cup, but my pick for the Supporter Shield is they have yellow.
Oh,
it's Nashville. I think
Nashville
has a good chance of winning the Supporter Shield this year, due to the fact that they just added one of the best Quakes of all time, Christian Espinoza, and they still have Hani Mukhtar and Sam Surge banging in goals like crazy. And I think that offense is going to be something to really, really ride high about. Now the defense is a little leaky, but I think with a team like that, where unfortunately I do think they're going to get bounced by Inter Miami early in the CONCACAF Champions Cup, I think they're going to focus a lot on this MLS season, understanding that, hey, maybe some teams are going to kind of take it slowly before the World Cup. And at this point, I think I could see them under BJ Callahan kind of shocking MLS and being at the top of the Eastern Conference as we get to the World Cup. And then the last one, the MLS Cup, what team do I think is going to win? This is tough because I could see some MLS teams getting some crazy talent in the summer, and we don't even know who that is yet, right? So that being said, let's go with a safe bet. I think let's go with a team who's always going to be in the playoffs, a team that maybe doesn't have one of those superstars, but they destroyed Miami last year in a final. I think the Seattle Sounders have a great chance of lifting MLS Cup. They're just born winners, man. They know what to do under Brian Schmetzer. I think Brian Schmetzer is possibly one of the best coaches of all time in MLS. And I think with that coaching, with that belief in their players, with those MLS guys who are experienced, they're always going to be in the thick of it. So I'm going to kind of go safe with it. They won Leagues Cup last year. They beat Miami pretty bad, 3-0. And if Seattle can get a lot of points and then have home field advantage, Messi has never done well in the Pacific Northwest. Like, he always has a hard time in Vancouver when he goes. He has a hard time in Seattle. And I think, 60,000 fans screaming at Messi really messed them up in that Leagues Cup final. And I think it could happen again.
He doesn't like turf.
It's like, yeah, it's a kryptonite, right?
Can he do it on a rainy night in Seattle?
Yeah, right.
That's a really good shout. I think Seattle is just one of those teams consistent all the time and is waiting for that one superstar. Can they get? It was always supposed to be Suarez, if I'm remembering correctly. I think they had his discovery right, and it was like they're gonna get Suarez, and then he was like, "Nah, I'm never playing there," and then it kind of changed. But and then
he spit on their staffer,
Yeah, and then he spit on their staffer. What a crazy turn of events. Only in MLS. That's only an MLS moment where you can get that. But you're right. Morris,
that was the craziest moment for me because I was on the game for Leagues Cup. So I was writing the recap for that. Nice. And I'm trying my hardest to do this as fast as possible while on the field. They're just throwing fists and Suarez is spitting on people. And I'm like, as a reporter and not a journalist, I'm like, let's get down there. What the heck is going on? Like, let me record this, but I had to do this recap for a final at the same time. So I was like, man, this is like the hardest moment in my career where I want to just go film viral clips, but I have to do this thing that's going to end up on Wikipedia, like, damn.
That's crazy. You know what? That moment, it's funny, during the season, I think I sent it to these guys in our text thread, but I was like, Miami's cooked. Like, this is it. Like, the project might be over here. Like, they might have to scrap the whole thing and rebuild, and they ended up winning everything and then building a super team on top of that. But from that moment, it's crazy. This league works almost like in 4 different seasons in one, where you can have a great start, and then Messi just doesn't play. And then you get to the League Cup's final again for Messi, and he doesn't get over the hump. They try to kill each other on the field. The super disgraceful, like almost bad look for Messi and co. And then they go and they win it all. It's the best league.
And then Busquets and Alba announced that they're retiring, and then it's a brand new team, brand new season. Suarez gets suspended. Silvetti comes out of nowhere. And today Allende looks like a prime, Cristiano Ronaldo in this MLS Cup playoffs.
You know what? This is the best league in the world. And it's because of people like you that get to come on podcasts and do a podcast tour and speak about all the craziness. And I think that if anyone has made it to this portion of the video and they're not already following you, they absolutely should, because you cover the league all year long. So I'm going to give you this spotlight to plug all of your socials, plug everything that you're currently doing. And then for anybody who missed the beginning, plug the brand in the company again.
No, well, thank you. Yeah, my name is Favian Renkel. My goal was to go ahead and one day put Redwood City on the map but I think Dylan's girlfriend already did. So my job is done here. Okay. After this podcast tour, I'm riding off into the sunset and I'm doing an alumni tour with my high school because Dylan's girlfriend might get all the love, and I need to get that back, So no, but seriously, thank you guys so much for having me on. I always like to do these tours because honestly, I get to make new friends. I get to make people feel like the community is closer than it is. When I was first starting with Tectonic Takes, I started off with adversity. I started off with some shows not liking who I am because we were competition, and that's not the community I think this MLS world is. We're also small, and my whole thing is, we're small together. Let's grow together. There's enough for all of us to eat in this world. It makes no sense to be catty when it comes to like trying to make a podcast for the same team. On second hand, let's do this together. And I think with making the Favi Awards for best podcast, the Western Conference and the Eastern Conference, and the best new podcast, and doing all these things for podcasts, we get closer as a community. And with this podcast tour, I'm getting to know a lot of new podcasts, and exactly with that, this community gets closer and closer. And that's something that I always love to do, especially in a community that's so small and we help each other grow. So no, thank you guys for having me on. This is a blast. Keep posting on TikTok because I saw you guys on TikTok. And you guys are doing a great job hitting those new users, hitting those demographics, because
hitting KPIs.
There's a space for it, right? So no, I love to see this. I'm excited for your guys' growth, and I will always remember episode 35 and 36.
Heck yeah. All right. Well, I'll let these two also plug their stuff. NGF Andrew, you can go first. Dari, I want you to start plugging your DJing stuff because it's very good. And the fact that this is like your third job essentially is the.
Hold up, we need a DJ in Brooklyn. How fast can you get out here?
Make it happen, Mr. Heelbite.
Let's see.
All right, Mr. NGF Andrew, go ahead and plug your stuff, and then Dari, and then I'll say some stuff about the COC network.
Yeah, I just want to thank Favi again for hopping on. I've seen your stuff for the past couple of years. We've interacted here and there. It's been super cool, seeing your growth. I remember when you were starting out kind of that San Jose beat writer, and now you're working on a lot of really interesting projects, and it's been really cool to see that growth. I've used you as kind of like a guiding point as I've started my own, coverage and stuff as I've gotten into the press box. And nice to see, other, children of immigrants doing well. So love to see it. Great to speak with you, man. And I want to shout out also La Cuna Galaxiana, our homie Ananda. He has a saying I love, that when the tide rises, all the ships rise up together. And I feel like that's been, the MO in the Galaxy, I think space, we've been on a lot of the different shows. I feel like we're lucky with a great community. And we hope we can spread that sort of community all over the U.S., all over the MLS. It's a great league. So follow all of us here as we, try our best to cover it. As for myself, you can find me at NGF Andrew on Twitter, Nuestra Galaxia Futbolera on Instagram, and you can find our articles weekly on Los Angeles Sports Nation. Getting back into the real swing of it now as the season kicks up. So be sure to subscribe for free there. Catch my articles. We'll bring you coverage direct from the press box, and follow us here on Classic Cosmos, C.O.C Network. We've got a lot of good stuff. It'll be a really fun season. Hopefully one better than last year, so stick around.
Yeah.
Thank you. Alrighty, Dari, it's time.
It's going to be HeelBite316 on all socials. I don't know. I don't really plug, so I don't really know.
No, that's fine. This is a learning experience for all of us here.
That's all I got for right now. I'll work on my elevator pitch.
It works.
It's funny because we've done it enough times now that usually, because I sit in an hour of traffic heading home every day, that I practice the intro and then the promo every single time. And I can guarantee you that every single time I fuck it up. So you can work on it forever and ever and ever. You'll probably get better at that than me at some point.
We're all working in progress.
But I'll plug our stuff. COC Network, like I said, 217 as of today. So please like, comment, subscribe. Do the same for these guys. They're all amazing creators and they do various different things. Favian, thank you so much for being on here.
Pleasure.
And Mila, hopefully you came home with the trophy. We'll talk about that on the next one. But
right.
I'm Dylan. That's Darius. That's Mr. NGF Andrew. And that's Mr. Favian. We have been Clash of Cosmos, episode 35. And we'll see you guys in the next one.
Ballet, Highland Champions, They're going to go alone. Still back! What a goal! It's 6. They just cannot stop scoring. The volley from Votto. Yes! San Jose carved open with a world-class pass from Ricky Pooch.
Glittering Galaxy, and Landon Donovan is the match winner.